Alright, so we're going to move into the second speaker tonight, who's Ariana Jordão, who's going to tell us about living culture, bacteria, fermentation on both a social and molecular sort of scale, and also about a forthcoming project which will take place on the 22nd of March in the M.A.D.E. Cafe Art Space in Earth. Ariana, are yours?
Yes, thank you. So, microorganisms, bacteria, the unsung heroes of life processes. What's the last time that you thought about bacteria? We put a lot of emphasis on anesthetizing and cleaning our environments and being super bacteriophobic, really. But I'm just wanting to make a case for how we might want to be more bacteriophilic and love them more and work with them more and use fermentation as a kind of a purposeful reorientation of some existential shift about our relationship with living systems. So that's like the tree of life in a sort of artistic interpretation. So Paul didn't mention, I'm a cat of many lives, and at the moment I've been very involved in sort of facilitating this relationship between arts and sciences through the Center for Alternative Technology in Mid-Wales, where I just came from this morning. So, life, branches of life. Bacteria are proto-prokaryotes, like monocellular life forms. Eukaryotes, all the complex beings, and synthetica, like synthetic forms of life that now has made it to the landscape of the tree of life, because now we're manipulating life to the extent that we now have to manage it in a different way through biotechnology. I mean, I think there's this kind of myth that biotech controls nature for us, but then we have to control biotech, so what are we losing in this process and where are we getting at? A little graph from Tree Hugger, just about what have we done to the biodiversity on the planet. As you can tell, just in the kind of complex life forms, while the megafauna is kind of gone, it's mostly people and the mammals that are useful to people. So if we want to do a kind of reconnection with natural systems, maybe the microfauna has some potential. And if you start looking at the microfauna, so this is a graph from the Human Microbiome Project that kind of looks at the amount of bacteria that we have living in our bodies, active constantly at all times, kind of interfacing any relationship that goes on in your body. It kind of validates the idea of gut feelings, because there's a system of synapses through the gut and your spine that kind of relates a bit with your brain processes too. So the Human Microbiome Project is really fascinated to look at all the different bacterial interactions that are going on in your body in all the different places. This is again a biomass graph relating to the number of bacterial cells, number of cells. The small amount is the number of human cells in your body, and the other one is the number of bacterial cells. So like here, mostly bacterial cells. This is just the amount of different bacteria that are in your salivary microbiome. So yes, sharing the same glass with someone really isn't much of an issue. Because we are a habitat. We are a habitat for loads and loads of relationships all the time. So you can't take a thing away, you can't take the fact of a thing away from the assemblage of relationships that constitutes that thing. So yes, very nice infographic. Starting to think of humans as sets of a meta system of other relationships. And then living cultures or bacterial cultures. Oh, this is really interesting. I just added this in because people might not know about M.A.D.E. I met her a while ago, and she had this really inspiring biopunk manifesto. It's written in the same format as the Cyberpunk Manifesto. kind of talking a little bit about citizen science and the importance and why we should be legitimate to play with living organisms and not leave it all for biotech companies with big labs and have this kind of holiness to life that means that nobody knows what's going on with their immediate environment, with their food, with their stuff that goes on, and that the precautionary principle actually doesn't stop any of these big companies, passing on poison as food and all this kind of stuff. But it does stop reasonable people getting on with experiments that might really develop innovation. So this is a good one if anyone's interested in. Well, it's a bit more background about this approach. Why I think fermentation is not big science. So that's why I got attracted to fermentation. It's like kitchen counter science, it's folk science, it's everyday science. And it's changing, it's interacting with our food to create flavor, to create nutrition, to add longevity to food is a really long tradition. It's a practice all around the world. It's an indigenous practice. The top picture is one of these fermentation workshops. You might have heard them. So probiotics and the powerful, tonic, health boosting effects of living cultures are really widely documented in the health food industry. Connections with preventing cancer, AIDS, just basically keeping our internal microbiome happy keeps people healthy, So it works. So that's me this morning, looking after my cultures before I was going to leave them for a few days. Yes, the parallels with social systems and this analog connection with fermentation and social systems, just ideas, conversations, how you activate an idea to create public discourse around a topic, how one idea mixes with another idea to create a content, to build up discourse. And it's always part of a context, always part of the particularity of the place where it's emerging. So it's very relational. Yes, two forms of knowing, two ideas, two experiences, two perspectives meet, share a medium, and get energy invested in them, and they might flourish. And that's how cultural wealth, knowledge wealth grows. So I'm interested in appropriating that process and collectivizing that process and just putting these intentions on and reminding ourselves that the ideas that we create have an ecology in themselves. The archaic forms of consciousness that we use have a form in themselves, and they apply to the things we create. Yes, breathe. Take some air. Air is a really important ingredient. There's the universality of it and the particularity of it. Fermentation is a whole range of different techniques, from lacto-fermenting vegetables with basically water, salt, and their own bacteria that are in them, to cultures of bacteria that have been kept in families or countries for generations, like kefir grains from the Caucasus, or injeras, or in Southeast Asia is a wealth of culture of fermentation techniques, and it doesn't belong to anyone, it's not appropriated, it's not marketable. It's basically always been a way of indigenous communities to add value and to add integrity, actually, to their food practices and to their food cultures. And that's a really authentic and genuine form of culture that permeates everything. And I think this is also a slide to remind us that a lot of really meaningful interactions happen outside the forms that are supposedly creating the important knowledge about something, or developing the experts, all this kind of stuff. It's about empowering everyone to be the repositories of their own form of knowledge and to own their experience. These are some words I wrote down in the typewriter this morning. It'd be really nice if anybody wanted to add some words that I haven't thought of. I've thought of a lot of words that weren't here already. This one about quorum is really interesting. So it's quorum sensing. It's supposed to be this magical language of bacteria where they send chemical signals to the environment and they can show this intelligence in reacting. They know when they have enough mass together to completely change the medium that they're existing in. But it's actually a word deriving from a political process. You're not supposed to use it if you're not relating to, it's a Greek word for a political process of meeting each other and making decisions and welcoming the other. So yeah, I think scientists have a lot of, some scientists have a lot of respect for what they do, and they pick up really interesting words that we should unpick and own them as well. So this idea of quorum I'm definitely gonna use. I thought of intuition as something that should be in there, but please add something. Curiosity as a key ingredient. Interiority as this thing of, the invisibility of the interiority and what is happening before the process is supposedly happening and what's happening right after. The accident error, just reclaiming this thing of like the failure being the compost of success, and you don't have to get everything right, and loads of really good stuff has happened in innovation because of accidents or because of errors, and you don't have to be afraid of getting things wrong. Movement is kind of acknowledging this dynamic interplay of systems and how everything's in flux, and you're not trying to find the ultimate conclusion to a process. And bacterial cultures are always evolving, and they're never the same, and they always take on the form of whatever particular mix of ingredients you feed them. Use this word called mother. Yeah, that should be in there. The mother culture. So like you can harvest wild yeast sometimes because they're just everywhere, bacteria are everywhere. But lots of cultures rely on this mother culture. And it'll still change whatever, different water you feed it, or different salt, different sugar. But it's called the mother because it has that chest, that container of potential that allows it to become this thing like a kombucha or a kefir. They're actually very versatile. So I had a culture of kefir that was supposed to be, this really special grain of kefir, and I decided I didn't like to buy organic cow milk to feed my kefir to make this fermented organic cow milk. So I trained it to eat sugary water instead, and it didn't like it for a while, and it became transparent instead of white, and it just started fermenting water instead. So they're totally versatile. This is this thing that we're doing in Cardiff next weekend, not this one, the next one. It came out of fizzling conversations between people at a conference that we had at CAT. That was supposed to make artists meet scientists and come up with the solutions for the sustainable futures, which is very problematic in itself. And a few people. Eva has already been working with living cultures for a while. Basically, Eva and I met, and I showed her my mushroom propagation lab where I was growing loads of mycelium and mycorrhizal, and we thought this was cool, and that we wanted to come and look for multicultural culture points, to invite lots of different heads to think together on outside the box and without a set agenda on what kind of connections and discourses we can read around this, and basically around this very grounded, like this very material metaphor, like changing matter to enhance it, to add value to it, and to add loads of cultural value to it by the interactions that people meet around them. So Poppy here is like coming, and she's really been a great help linking up with local food producers. So like food is also the thing. If anyone in the room is a food activist, it's a very universal language that connects, producers with consumers, and there's a lot of closing links there waiting to be made. This is obviously what happens with the food once it's been grown from all those heirloom, seeds that we've been saving for hundreds of generations, and showing that, humans have always been biohackers, because the chili that's the household chili that doesn't need peeling was selected because it's useful. Now I'd like to propose a toast. A biohazard elixir toast. If anybody is daring enough to taste some kombucha, you borrow some glasses from the bar and make up some toasts to whatever you think living cultures make alive in you. This is kombucha. It's a symbiotic association with a yeast and a bacteria. It makes a thing called a Scooby, so like a kind of a fat, inch-long, blobby, mushroomy type. It's called a mushroom as well sometimes. And it's exciting lots of textile designers because they're calling it bio-leather, because you could grow, a big amount of this thing and then dehydrate it and then cut it up and sew it back together and make something that looks like leather, and it's made with a living organism. Like so many bacteria are really going to be the industrial laborers of the future synthetic society, because you can put bits of genome in there and they replicate, they grow, they're very, very useful for a lot of things. So I'm going to get some shot glasses because I feel like a drink and I haven't had anything from the bar. I hope you mind if we borrow some glasses. Small glass, shot glasses. Yes.
A little bit of bacteria. Bacteria drink.
It's just grin. It's alive. Biohazard. Watch out. So in America, this is really popular. You can buy this in the shop. Everybody's like kombucha, kombucha, kombucha.
That's one you made yourself.
Yeah, of course.
Captured it in your kitchen. Captured it in your kitchen.
The picture in there was me harvesting it this morning.
Right.
This first picture up here. This one.
Yes.
That's it. So you can just basically see the Scooby floating there. It's like 1 inch long. The anaerobic fermentation is going on the surface and the aerobic on the bottom. And, well, Want a toast?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah? What to?
Well, I think to bacterial fermentation.
Bacterial fermentation in kitchen counterculture.
That's right. Synthetic material is from living organisms which are not mammals.
Totally.
There's more glasses, huh? Anybody else want to try the biohazard this product?
Tastes good, is it blue? Very refreshing. So, gut feelings, yes. Their fermentation and social imagination. Creativity. Oh, an email. I was inspired by Sunil, who put his contact in this presentation, which obviously is the right thing to do. I think that's it. Questions, please, debate, feed me something.
Can I try one?
Yes. You have to make a toast.
So what is it?
It's a fizzy drink.
Okay.
It's, oh sorry, I haven't said, it's tea. It's fermented tea.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what you feed it. You feed it tea. Organic, black or jasmine or green, but not herbal. It's fermented tea. Sorry, I should have said. Biohazard, I got really caught in the label.
I drink M.A.D.E, which is fermented tea from Asia.
How do you make it?
It's pre-fermented. You just make it like normal tea.
Like
Smells.
mate or something?
Well, just teapot. You know. Tastes nice.
Yeah, basically. Probiotics. Praise for probiotics.
Alcoholic?
No, it's not alcoholic fermentation. So fermentation, yeah, you could. I mean, I could easily be talking. Yeah, I make beer as well and alcohol and wine. And you could totally. I mean, have you tried? I think we have someone who makes beer coming to this event. This is the celebration of fermentation in all its forms. So like, yeah, definitely beer and wine are part of it. Vinegar. Another amazing thing that's also kick-started from a starter culture, you know, kind of incubator, starter batch.
Is this ever an initially destructive thing, when you start taking this kind of food, when one starts eating this kind of food, is there a period where you sort of might be getting a bit sick for a while, whilst building up, and whilst that,
Totally.
those interactions are going on, and then you reach it?
Level out to reach. I mean, it's never happened to me. I haven't really heard about it. I'm sure if you scan the internet, you'll find it. Like, people tend to arrive at this as people who already have problems. You know, like, people arrive at this as a self-regulating thing. You know, so people have gut problems or problems with the gut flora. They arrive at this because they have something to fix. So it's kind of hard to say, oh, you gave yourself a problem. It's mostly, you know, that's why it's mostly just known in the health food circles. But yeah, so probably that's also why people have a slight awareness of thinking, oh, it's only when you have a problem, like medicine or something. But so this is, you know, just you know, fermented, I mean, to me it's like really refreshing, really tantalizing, you know. But there are, you know, like the fermenting vegetables is beautiful. It's amazing. Like, I totally recommend it. Like, next time you see a lettuce catching mold in your, you know, it's really a way to preserve and enhance and like get really creative in the kitchen, mixing it flavors. You can ferment any vegetables, you know, just like chop them fine, give them a bit of a bounce, add salt and put them in a jar, you know, and wait a couple of weeks and check, you know, check what it sounds like, check what it's a really sensuous process, you know. You have to smell it, and you have to use your senses and be reasonable. Like, fermentation can go wrong. And you can normally tell, you know, oh, there's a mold growing, I better peel this layer off and keep going.
What can
So
you
yeah,
do
you have to
with
take responsibility and
what can you actually do with the results of what, like once you've fermented the vegetables like that, what can you do with them?
you eat them.
Yes.
Yes, it's really good food. It's really good food. Like any continent in the world has a culture. Have you heard of kimchi?
No.
Yeah.
Ketchup.
It's like, no, kimchi. Like
No,
kimchi
ketchup.
vegetables.
Ketchup is a fermented.
Fermented.
That's something everyone will know.
Well, no, but
Yeah.
it's not food. It's a condiment.
Okay.
No, this thing is basically, it's enhancing both the nutrition and the flavor. You're kind of pre-digesting, like the microbes are pre-digesting the food for you, so it's a lot easier for your gut flora, particularly things like beans and pulses, you know. Fermented pulse paste can make something ultimately more digestible and pleasurable. Yeah, it's not just an accessory. Although it looks great in the kitchen, like jars full of, you know, really colorful.
So how would
bits
you
of
use it?
vegetables.
What sort of vehicle would you use to put it into your your mouth, use a spoonful of fermented carrot, or would you have it on toast? What would it be?
Yeah.
How would it be delivered?
Well, in Africa they have a pancake. It's actually a
Right.
fermented pancake itself.
Right.
Yes. So you get the pancake and you put it inside.
Right, what's the recipe? What's a common or
Injera.
an easily made like
Pancake.
pancake?
Flour and water.
What would you
It's
put?
universal, isn't it?
And what fermented vegetable would be great?
Sauerkraut. You know
Yeah.
sauerkraut.
Yeah.
If you go to Germany or
Yeah.
Poland or anywhere in Eastern Europe, you're
Yeah.
eating loads of fermented stuff just like with any meal. You know, it's really hard to get away from sauerkraut if you go to the east. It's
Yeah.
just there. It's just part of the palette of flavors that arrives in your plate. You probably have eaten lots of fermented food and not known about it.
Yeah.
Hi.
Well, I'm just thinking about contrast or stabilizing forces in terms of fermentation. Do you have anything to say?
Contrast.
Stabilizing forces in terms of fermentation properties.
Like pita and vata, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's like Indian Ayurveda philosophies of, balancing active with passive, acid with neutral. Yeah, I can't say there's much method to my madness. It's
So
like
what's
ferment
gonna-
away and
What's gonna
see what
happen?
tastes nice.
What's gonna happen in 22nd?
We're gonna have a big, massive table full of utensils and full of food, ingredients, and there's art.
So you bring some stuff you made earlier because you can't film
Yeah,
everything in one
exactly.
day.
There's a few bits for showing and telling, so like introducing different kinds of fermented things, what they look like, how they got made, and we're hopefully just giving people the skills to be able to follow their own curiosity and play, and then all the ingredients are there, and we can spend an afternoon and take lots of things home and watch how they develop. And there'll be things to share as well, like yogurt. If you ever wanted to make your own yogurt, there's a really special cultured yogurt that will be shared out. Yeah. Make batches of sourdough. Yeah, big table, lots of colors, lots of textures, lots of spices.
Sounds good.
Let's get creative.
So you want people to register in advance for this one, preferably?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's just
You
good
can
to know
follow
numbers, but it's kind of like drop in, it's drop in the morning, but then in the afternoon, so that you can sort of have people focus. It's nice if you stay the whole afternoon and commit to making something and taking it away. And this is a really cute gallery in Rove. They're really trying to do something, oblique inside the art scene in Cardiff. They're based in a, multicultural community right off the main circuit, off the main arteries, and got a cool cafe, and they've got a big focus on food, and they are a depository for a vegetable box scheme drop-off point. And they also sell art and showcase some really serious artists. So they're trying to do all these things, really multi-functional space. And I think it's going really well.
What gallery is it?
It's called M.A.D.E. It used to be called the Milkwood Gallery.
Oh, right.
And they've reinvented themselves. So yeah, it's really exciting for me to be in a city like Cardiff and meeting lots of people like you guys.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ariana.